What's going on, WolfPack Nation? Thank you all so much for tuning back in as we got part 2 here. Again, if you haven't checked out part 1 yet, definitely got to check that out first. That was an awesome conversation, awesome episodes. Make sure to go and check out part 1 here before you get rock and rolling. But also make sure to give us hit that subscribe button. It's free to do and really helps support us in the channel, and would greatly appreciate it. Give this video a like, check out all of our great NC State content, and give us a follow at Tuffy Talk now. But if you haven't seen part 1, so we have Kenton Gibbs with us, who's a former defensive tackle, was a part of the famous Pac-13 class, and now has been going through a life of sports journalism, has been a part of the Locked On WolfPack podcast, which again, you can find on any major podcast network, whether it be Apple Podcasts, you name it. So make sure to go check him out first of all. And again, I mean, he gives daily episodes and just some awesome NC State content. So for that, anybody would definitely want to check out. But Ken, I want to kind of jump right back into it, because one thing that I wanted to first of all ask about for I kind of have a list here in my head that I want to go through. But first of all, I want to kind of ask about the Locked On WolfPack. So kind of what kind of got you into it? How did it start? How's it going? Just want to kind of get the whole story on the Locked On WolfPack side in terms of, the whole backstory and how it's going so far.
Oh, for sure. So it honestly, this whole thing has been a process and a build up from my retirement, right? So after I was like pretty much forced into retirement by injuries, I always told myself, like, all right, after you're done playing football, you're going to talk about football. That's going to be your next job. And I didn't know that was going to come when I was 21 or 22, but it came nonetheless. And so I was like, all right, bet. How do I do that? And I got on with WRAL, and Mandy Mitchell was my mentor there. And, she showed me the ropes of like, all right, your way of writing, this is not TV writing. That's not what that is. And so she taught me the ropes of like how to do it and what it looks like and what professionalism in sports journalism looks like. Because, everybody who's ever picked up a pen and pad that's been to a sporting event feels like they're a sports journalist. Feels like, oh, I can do his job. So, but there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of skill. There's a lot of things that actually go into the art and practice of it that, I had to learn there. So from there, I did that for, I want to say like 3 years. I moved up from basically like an intern to a news production assistant and a helper for high school OT who went out to cover games and whatnot. And after that, I got on with Brett Friedlander with Sports Illustrated All WolfPack. And so me and him, we were like the odd couple, the dynamic duo. There's this old guy who's been covering the Battle of the Blues since before any of us were born, and then there's me, the former athlete who just was getting out of just getting out of playing football, and so he took a chance on me there, and so it went well. It went great actually. And some people are still asking for us to get back together. And I tell them all the time, we never left. It's just the funding for that operation left. So, naturally we had to go do other things. But after that, I heard about the Locked On Podcast Network from a group of friends that I was that I'm in a sports journalism group chat with, and they were like, hey, like this is a thing, and they're looking for people to cover these teams. And NC State was one of them. And I said, well, wait a minute, you will? You need somebody? Hold on now.
Yeah. Don't twist my arm.
Exactly. As they don't want to call it the bullpen anymore. They want to call it the arm bar. So I was in the arm bar warming up. I said,
I like the arm bar better.
I love arm bar. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what it means, but it's provocative. It gets the people going. So anyway, so
we might get copyright claimed on that phrase, though, Ken.
Huh?
We might get copyrighted on that.
I don't care. Peter, y'all got to come see us about it. Come fight us. Yeah. We're going to say arm bar in here. But when I got the call basically of like, oh, you can be with this network, I just put in some calls, called Ross Jackson and talked to him a lot. He's the host of Locked On Saints, and he's like one of the managing directors for all of the channels. And he saw my credentials and was like, oh, dude, we'd love to have you on. And I'm like, okay, if y'all going to, pay me a little bit of change to talk about NC State every day, for about 30 minutes, I'll do that. That's something I'll sign up for. I'm still in Raleigh, so I'm going to watch the sports anyway. I'm going to see it on every TV at every bar, whatever. And so, that's how I ended up with Locked On Wolfpack. And the show has grown so much, man. It has grown so much. The first couple episodes, I didn't have a theme song. I was preparing for episodes, but I wasn't putting in the level of preparation I'm doing now because it's, you know how it is. It's you do hours of practice for this much game time. It's the exact same way. It's the exact same way. You do like a lot of time where you're looking up stats and you're looking up what happened and you're going back to rewatch to make sure that like there's not some bias that you have for or against player X, Y, and Z that's influencing how you're seeing it. And then just to do 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then you got to do it all again tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. So, I mean, it's really, it's been a blast. And the show has grown from like nothing but me just talking for 15 minutes and vibes to like this fully fledged out production with like a lot of production value now that, I mean, I'm up to about 150 to 200 listeners per episode. So, I mean, it's grown a lot. I've had some endorsement deals as well that they're pretty fun. People send me stuff for free now just because I talk about the Wolfpack and of course I get paid to do it. So, I mean, you can't beat that with a stick.
No, that's right.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So now one topic I wanted to go ahead and jump into because it was something I wanted to ask in the first part, but I want to kind of wait until the second part here. Just kind of give a little build up because I really want to get your input since you have kind of been in the situation. But you mentioned you kind of talked about Payton Wilson, and this is one guy that I want to kind of get your thought on because unfortunately I think it's been proven that definitely during his time in NC State that unfortunately, some of his bones have to be made out of paper towels or something like that. Just the guy can just not stay healthy. That poor guy. And I mean, there's not a State fan alive that their heart just doesn't absolutely break for him because I mean, there's no doubt this guy should be an easy first round draft pick. This guy should get the world. I mean, he is just so talented. And I truly believe he came out of the womb and basically put in work from there to get to where he is. So with you being where you were, basically your 3-star recruit came in, and unfortunately injuries kind of limited you. But now you look at Payton Wilson, who's a guy that's out for the season. But now he's from what I've heard, he's kind of 50-50 on whether he wants to come back, go to the NFL, whatever it may be. So what are your kind of initial thoughts on Payton's situation, and then what kind of advice would you give him as he kind of considers his future on whether going to the NFL or staying at NC State?
I mean, my thoughts on the Payton situation is simple. It is. I had Ryan Roberts of Draft Day. He's a draft analyst. They do great work over there at Draft Day. I had him on the show, and I said, I think NC State has at least 2 first-rounders. And I think if Bam Knight has a solid enough season, he can sneak up into that second round range because of his versatility and all the different things that he can do. And he said, you're absolutely right. Big Ick, of course, he's going to be the first guard off the board. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the reality there.
Yep.
But he said when it comes to Payton Wilson, the question is health. It's not a question of talent. It's not a question of eye discipline, not a question of leverage and technique, and because he's a taller linebacker, but he's never super high with straight legs and just getting thrown up out the club. So the question with him was health. And this year he has gotten hurt again. And so the question is this, right? How much longer do you think your shelf life is the question, right? Because at the end of the day, I love NC State. The place is great. Again, I'm still in Raleigh to this day, still go to games and all that good stuff. The fact of the matter is simple. I'm never going to tell anybody to do anything that is against their best interest, to do something that is not sensible for them, for the university. That's just not who I am as a human being. And I'm not going to do that with Payton. I would say very simply, how long do you think your shelf life is? And also, what matters most to you, right? Because for some people coming from certain situations, You do what you got to do, and you go get the money right now. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You change your family's life. Even if you're a 3rd round pick and you kick around the league as a special teams guy for like 4 to 5 years, you've then changed the entire trajectory of your family going forward, right? But also, if that's not your case, if you're like, my family's good, like they don't really need anything from me, it's about what is best for me, and you're like, I want to come back and win an ACC championship here. I know that I'm not going to make millionaire money out of the gates. I can make a good amount in NIL deals if I come back. We can come back and run this thing back and possibly win us a ACC championship. And who knows, if we run the table in the ACC, that puts you in position for playoffs. So, it's all about what matters to him. Again, I'm never going to be an advocate for like, do whatever for dear old state. Doesn't matter if it makes sense for you or not. Just do it because it's no, that's not me. That's not who I am. And so that's my thoughts there. My advice to him would be to get people who you trust, who you love, who have known you for a while, and let them give you the advice on what you should or should not do. Because if you take the advice from an agent, well, what does an agent want? They want you to go to the league so they can get a cut. That's what the agent wants. Every agent is going to tell you, oh, nobody cares about your injury history, dude. You'll be a 2nd rounder. When in reality, the scouts are looking at you like, he might be 5th, 6th.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right? Not saying that that's what he is, but the agent is going to tell you what you want to hear. I've seen it from the time that I played forward. I've seen agents tell players whatever they want to hear in order to get them to enter the draft, even if they know like, oh, this player might not get picked up. And all they're going to do in the back end is, oh, well, you owe me $2,000 now because I paid for your training, I paid for your housing, I paid for your this and your that.
Yep.
Nobody wants that. And then on the other end, if you're listening to, like very rabid fans that don't know you, don't know what your situation is, don't know what's best for you, you're going to hear, oh, well, do you really care about the university if you leave? And granted, NC State fans, Wolfpack Nation is really good about not being those people, but there's always a few. There's always a loud minority that's always going to be, hey, if you care about the university, you're going to listen. Yeah. Find people who love you. Take advice from them. The worst thing that you can do right now is make a decision based off of a Johnny or Janie come lately's opinion. Don't do that. Make the decision based off of people who love you, people who care about you, people who have as much information as possible and are going to tell you what it is, what it ain't, what it could be, and what it can't. Not what's going to make me some money. Not what's going to make me happy.
I love it. I love everything you just said. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. I'm definitely one that if Payton Wilson goes, in no way, shape, or form am I upset or even disappointed. I'm happy for him. At the end of the day, I mean, I completely understand. At the end of the day, coming back is an absolute gamble. It could work out for you very, very well. If he comes back and plays a full season, he could probably be AC Defensive Player of the Year, win an AC title, easy first-round draft pick. Or he could get injured again and tank, basically, and my heart would break for sure. So I completely understand either way. And I know, I mean, there's no doubt. And I kind of said this, after the way we lost the Wake Forest game, like if you wanted the situation for the most likelihood that players will come back, that's what just happened. Assuming that the basically what we need, to get to Charlotte to happen this year, that if we don't make it to Charlotte, that like now, like Dre Thomas and Tanner Ingle are like looking at Payton, looking at Isaiah and going, guys, if y'all come back, there's no doubt we're winning the AC title next year. There's no doubt. And I guarantee you that's a thought. in everybody's head right now. It's a thought. It's not talked about yet because in the day we still got games to play, but it is a thought.
Absolutely.
So
I was just gonna say, I
go ahead,
kind of echoing what you guys said. I can see him going either way. You know, if he doesn't want to risk the injury coming back, I can totally see that. But at the same time, like you said, if he comes back and shows he can stay healthy for a full year and has a great year, he could easily be a first round draft pick, which I don't think he would be if he goes this year.
Easily.
And this is why I was so upset last year when they gave the Defensive Player of the Year to the young man from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Because there's not a world in which you look at the numbers and you say the other guy was better. Oh, well, you can use the argument of, well, he's a system linebacker, 3-3-5. Yeah. It's all about linebacker production, and the numbers are going to fly through the roof everywhere. Sure. Okay, sure. I'll give you that. Mm-hmm. So did you watch the games? Did you watch the game? Because if you watch the games, there were times on that defense. Number one, on that defense, the young man from Notre Dame was never the best player. Like, he just wasn't. Kyle Hamilton has been the best player on that defense for a couple years now, and that's just the reality of the situation.
Yep.
Some of the plays Payton Wilson made are not just like, oh, wow, that's impressive. Some of them are like, if as you turn on that film as somebody who knows ball, you're standing on the desk like you're telling every player that is what we will win with that.
Yes.
Prime example against Syracuse, he drops into a middle hole. He's looking around. He's peeping. There's nobody coming into the middle hole. Everybody's running out breaking routes. It's the end of the game, basically. They got about, I want to say like 10 seconds left. It's third down. He's peeping. He's okay. Nobody's in my zone. Their quarterback is starting to scramble. Now he drops about 10 to 15 yards here. He's not deep third, but he's in a deep middle hole. This is cover two. This is Tampa 2 deep for a Mike linebacker.
Yep.
He's back there. And then when he realizes the quarterback is not going to get rid of it and nobody's coming to his zone, he goes and gets a sack from 10 to 15 yards. That is ridiculous. That's the type of stuff that doesn't even happen on Madden. You understand? That is a different league. That's and so then their quarterback spikes it on fourth down. We win the game. People don't realize without him seeing, okay, I've dropped with good depth. Nobody's coming. Everybody is staying on the sidelines. Everybody's plastered. I don't have nobody to plaster to and rushing. Who knows what happens in that game? Not saying the Syracuse quarterback was going to figure it out magically all of a sudden, but there's a reason that game was close. And he closes the door with that play.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there's not a play from the young man from Notre Dame that equals that. There isn't. And that, at the end of the day, that is the moment where I say my case is resting peacefully. My case done pulled out its Snuggie. It got on it turned the heat up real nice and toasty. It got in the bed. It done turned on Matlock or Murder, She Wrote or whatever my case wants to watch when it goes to bed. It's turned that on because it's resting.
I love it.
And so, he is a guy at the end of the day, and I know Wolfpack Nation, for the most part, is going to appreciate him and love up on him either way. And for me personally, if I could say anything to him, it has been a pleasure and a joy to watch you play, young man. Wherever you go, whatever you do, I'm going to be watching and I'm going to be enjoying and I'm going to be hoping that you do well because at the end of the day, I mean, players sacrifice their bodies for the university and he has done that. Players do things that are either a black eye to the university or a shining light to the university or something that's completely neutral that's like, oh, this player existed in the space. He's been a player that overwhelmingly it's been a shining light. It's been a shining light. Has he had bad moments? Of course. But every 18 to 22-year-old does. Every 18 to 22, you'll be hard-pressed to find anybody who at that time has never done anything bad. Again, there's some stories for off camera that trust me, okay? Leighton, you know where some bodies are buried. You know. So, I mean, at the end of the day, he's been a godsend for that defense. Yes. And at the end of the day, whatever he decides will be great. Yeah. But I ain't going to lie. I would enjoy seeing him back for one more ride. I ain't going to lie to you.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, no, I mean for also too, because one thing too that I mean that one thing I know that Syracuse play stands out to you. One thing that stands out to me about Payton Wilson, which I think says more about him as a competitor, which I think at the end of the day is one of the most important traits in football. Because at the end of the day, if you're a competitor, if you have this trait, which I'm about to tell you, then it don't matter if your special teams, it don't matter if your defense, it don't matter if your offense, it don't matter at all. That you are an asset to the team. And that is when we played Georgia Tech last year, it was very publicly known that he played some of the game with both of his shoulders dislocated, but played anyway. He had both of his shoulders literally not in the right place, but yet still went out there and played football. Not basketball, not soccer, played football where you use your shoulders every single play. And he played anyway until literally the trainers basically said, you can't go anymore. You can't do this. Like you are literally. So, I mean.
Trust me, as somebody who, the practice where I tore my bicep, I did the exact same thing. They just taped it up because we didn't know it was torn. I felt a little pinch and I'm like, it's fine. My arm just hurts a little bit. Just tape it up and we'll keep rolling.
Yep.
There is a warrior mentality in football, and it is a double-edged sword because it is both amazing. And when it gets into your teammates, it's infectious. It's because when we found out, Kenton tore his bicep, like that's what happened here. When we found that out, Coach Nielsen said, I don't think y'all understand what y'all are watching on this last series, because it was the last series of practice, and it was like, you know how the last series of practice is. That determines who won practice, more or less.
Right.
So in my mind, all I could think was the team needs me, that my defense needs me. And when you have that, Coach Nielsen said, watch this. And it was like plays where you do your job, but of course you do a little more, whatever the case may be. And he's like, that dude is out there battling with one arm. So what's stopping you? And that's how it works. That's how it works. When you have one person playing with two separated shoulders, well, guess what happens? That person with a fractured pinky or something like that, hey, coach, tape these two fingers together. I'm going to roll. And again, it's a double-edged sword in that it makes your team so much better. So much better. The only downside is, of course, eventually our adrenaline runs out and we find out.
Pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, I've done a lot of damage to my arm or to my shoulders or to my hand. And,
Yeah.
But most of these things, thank God for modern technology, right? Like most of the things that we do to our bodies, they can be fixed up. They can be put together some way, somehow, put back together. But yeah, that warrior mentality, it permeates. It starts with him, and then it spreads to the other linebackers. And then the DBs are looking, and they're like, well, they're doing it. And then the wide receivers get in on it. And then the big guys get in on it. And that's, all you need is a spark to start that forest fire.
Yep. Well, because guys like that are remembered forever. Like, for example, like another guy that always will stand out to me, I'll remember forever, Nate Ervik. And specifically the moment where we played Florida State in 2010. And basically they literally said that, he fractured his wrist or something. Like he was in a lot of pain in his wrist. And he pretty much, and he made a statement saying, I can't give up on my team. I need to get back out there. Tape it up. I'm going back out there. I don't care what it takes. And isn't it funny how he's the guy that recovered the fumble to win the game? The guy with the fractured wrist. I literally said, that maybe some players might say, I can't play. I have a fractured wrist. I can't play. But he went back out there, and he's the guy that made the game-winning play. How funny is it?
Oh, yeah.
So
on that same defense, Sterling Lucas played with no ACLs that last year. Like, that's, the sacrifice that these players make, it makes the entire team better. Everybody, you can't make an excuse for, oh, man, my arm hurts a lot. When you got a linebacker, so my ACLs left me in 2013. Like, what do you do there?
Yeah, and Nate Irving, not just that one game where he had a fractured wrist. That guy got in a horrible car accident, had a punctured lung and a bunch of other injuries, and came back the next year and had an even better year.
And balled out, absolutely.
Yeah.
So well, thank you so much, Ken, dude. Really appreciate it. I think this has been awesome. I really hope all of our listeners really enjoyed this as much as we did. So Ken, for those of our listeners following in, if you wouldn't mind kind of plugging in where they can check you out, where they can check out Locked On WolfPack, and listen to some other awesome NC State content, man.
First of all, thank you all so very much for having me out.
There you
like
go.
you said, like, subscribe, follow, or else I'm coming for you now. I'm coming. You can ask him about how I used to chase down quarterbacks. Country used to be our quarterback, the equipment manager. Ask him. I was tenacious. I was ferocious. Yeah, you can find me at Locked On Wolfpack on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere that you get your Anchor as well. Anywhere that you get your regular podcast, you can probably find Locked On Wolfpack. If you can't find me there, you can find me on Twitter at LO_Wolfpack. If you can't find me there, which I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, TTIF_Kenton is my personal page. And again, there will be more than just sports and football and NC State football and basketball on there. But if that's the case, get with me and I'll get you right as far as what you need to listen to Locked On Wolfpack.
Awesome, kid. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. I don't think we have to say much more than that. So, but really appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, go Pack, y'all.